Apple has made a very small but a very nice change to macOS Tahoe, a change since it first came out, a change to do with the new clipboard history feature. That feature is already so good, and this change to improve it is actually so key that I've got to enthuse about you. It's one option and I've got to enthuse about you. But, well, you're a writer, you know structure and rhythm and pace and like this, you know this would be a really short video if I just said, click here. So I will say, click here, but then let's use this as an excuse to start off on related little Mac tips that, yeah, they're little, they're short, they're tiny, but they're all so very useful. Hello, I'm William Gallagher, and this is 58 Keys, which, as ever, as always, is for writers like you and me, who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads. I'd really like you to subscribe, to like, or to patronize, but you, I think, would like to know what that little click here change is, if you don't already happen to know. So this is it. For 30 years now, the Mac did not have its own built-in clipboard manager, and I realize if you don't know the term, you don't know the term. Give me a second, I'll enthuse at you about it, but in fact I'll enthuse uncontrollably, really. It's quite embarrassing. If you do know what one is, this is the change. You may have seen that Apple finally gave us one with macOS Tahoe, but it did it in such a way that it was less a great and useful thing. It was a little bit more of a tease, because up to now, if you copied something on macOS Tahoe, then yes, you could paste it again later, as often as you like, as long after the original copying as you like, unless you copied it more than 8 hours ago, in which case, tough luck. Third-party clipboard managers that have been around for decades, such as Alfred 5 or Raycast, I mean, absolutely excellent Mac utilities for 100 reasons each, but they have this. They would let you paste back something you copied yesterday or last Tuesday, or maybe even a month last Wednesday or something like that. Copy it now, paste it anytime you like, pretty much. Apple had this 8-hour window, this 8-hour time limit, and if you're in a generous mood, what you could say is that it was a security thing. You don't leave things around for too long. Yeah, you could say Apple has provided a clipboard history that works for the duration of your typical office day. Now, however, with macOS Tahoe 26.1, Apple has improved this. Go to Settings, choose Spotlight, and scroll to the very bottom of the list there. It now says clipboard history is available in Spotlight, and next to that you get options. The default is still 8 hours before it clears everything, but you can pointlessly change it to 30 minutes, or much more usefully change it to 7 days. Yeah, I realize that I asked you to give me a second and that I would explain what a clipboard manager does, but you've got it now, haven't you? So how about instead I tell you this? There is still an issue, it seems, I'm not certain about it, but it seems, with Apple's version of this to do with security. Their 8 hours, 7, whatever it was, the idea there was that you wouldn't have passwords kept on your clipboard history for long enough that someone could break in, steal your Mac, and get the passwords out. Okay, that still seems to be an issue with even up to the 7 days thing. And I'm still surprised at it, because third-party clipboard managers like Alfred 5 that I use, or Raycast, there are many of these. For decades, they have coped with passwords and security things like that by letting you, yes, copy and paste it, but they're not retaining that in their clipboard history list. They're keeping you safe from even the remote possibility of somebody breaking in to your Mac and getting that. And I don't know why Apple thought that 8 hours would somehow deal with that. I don't know if Apple has put in any proper protections yet, but at least 7 days is more useful than 30 minutes, isn't it? What Apple calls clipboard history is a part of Spotlight on the Mac. You press Command Spacebar, unless you've added third party, or basically unless you've fiddled around, really. Command Spacebar opens up Spotlight. That's the default command for it. And then when you've done that, when Spotlight has opened in that little banner, you can move the cursor, and then these 4 blobs appear, and then cursor over to the last one. That's clipboard history. Or when Spotlight appears, you can do Command 4 to jump to that fourth blob. Whichever way you do it, you then get a drop-down list that shows you everything you've copied in the past 30 minutes, 8 hours, 7 days, whatever it is, in reverse chronological order. Scroll down to what you want, hit return, done. But there are other things in Spotlight that aren't new, but are very useful. You might even say they're kind. You can tell Spotlight to only search for certain types, certain kinds of document. Here, for example, I'm just searching on the word script, but I'm saying kind : PDF, which means only show me results that are PDFs, or kind Word. There's a phrase there, from Microsoft Word documents. This used to be pretty much the only way you could limit your searches, and it's still very useful. It is still the one I use, but if I solely search on the word script, well, before I hit return, I think Spotlight now tries to help me out. For, as well as showing loads of search results, it also offers me these buttons along the bottom. It offers those buttons as you type. And yeah, there are actually kind of documents in there. PDF is in the list, but you have to scroll back and forth a long way to find them. It is handy when you want to specify that you're only interested in documents. Well, one that came up here was the MindNode app. It does vary every time, but if the app is listed there, it's quick. The thing is, I often just want to find a folder. And that seems to always take some schlepping back and forth across the list. But yeah. Speaking of folders, though, yeah, I'm kind of a little bit torn over this one, because it's a definitely tremendously useful thing with the Mac, except in one specific circumstance that happens to apply to me. You're in a Mac app, any Mac app at all, and you want to open a document. This works with saving as well, but just for simplicity, we'll stick to opening. You open by choosing File, Open, or you press Command O, whichever one you like. And either way, you get this dialog box as your typical, standard, regular Apple, Mac, open dialog box. If you have other windows open around on your Mac, and if you have any list of folders anywhere in sight, you can click on a folder, drag it on top of that open dialog box, let go, and this happens. The open dialog box switches to show you the contents of that folder. No questions, so fast, so useful. Yeah, and I never touch it. For this reason, I use a genuinely superb third-party app called Default Folder X, which takes that regular and familiar save or open dialog box and wraps other options around it, does many, many things, but one of them is this. Actually, I think you've got to see this, because I find it very hard to describe. You're in an open or a save dialog box, right? And also open on your Mac is a folder or a whole range of folder windows. If you drag your cursor over one of those windows, Default Folder X recognizes it and switches the open or save dialog box to be looking at that highlighted folder. I mean, I know it sounds pretty much the same thing. I suppose it is slightly the other way around, same result in the end. But then there's this. Default Folder X can do this even if the folder window you want is hidden behind other apps or another document or other folders. It is absolutely excellent. And that is just one of the benefits of using Default Folder X. I deeply recommend it. But what's the opposite of a benefit? A detriment? A detriment is that it does happen to stop this dragging folder thing from working, and it kind of has to, because, you know, picture it, you're going over to drag that folder, but that means you're in a window and Default Folder goes and you, oh, aye, that's the folder window you want. Yeah, has to be done that way. I think really ultimately what I'm doing here, I am recommending Default Folder X. I think you can tell I like it. I'll put a link to it in the description, but even if you don't have it, this dragging the folder, you definitely have that. You have this drag folder to open dialog thing, and that is actually rather excellent in itself. Last one for now, and it's another one to do with using the Finder-ish, except it's kind of about really controlling anything on your Mac. You've seen in the Finder, you have the menu bar, you have the control center. It actually, I mean, even if you've only ever accidentally clicked on the icon for it in the menu bar, you have seen control center drop down. Without you doing anything to it at all, control center is genuinely useful. It's where you can quickly turn Wi-Fi on or off if you need to. You can start and stop music. I appear to be struggling now, kind of trailed off. Control Center on an iPhone and iPad, I'm really clear about. It's immensely useful. I now use it all the time with a Mac. It's just that there tend to be lots of different ways to do the same thing, to have the same control. So, for example, you could, but I am never going to go to Control Center to drag a slider back and forth to turn the volume up or down, for instance, because I can just do that straight from the keyboard. All sorts of other options. Yet, Control Center on the Mac can now have, well, just a simply immense number of controls. It's been kind of opened up to all sorts of things. And the thing I want to show you about all this is that you can also now have more than one control center. Like this. Click to open Control Center as it is, then choose Edit Controls at the bottom. And once you've done that, well, you get this big list of controls, yeah, but ignore that for a minute. You also get a plus sign kind of hidden up in the menu. Click on that and you get a whole new blank control center. You can drag in controls from the main window that appears. You can drag to rearrange them. It's a help because there are just so many possible controls that you can group them nicely and have multiple control centers if it works for you. But there is also this. If there's just one control you want, well, forget the plus. Forget the whole multiple control center things. Just find that one control on the list, drag it to your menu bar, and you're done. It stays there. This is useful. Very well, it depends on which control it is. I mean, I tried a brightness one the other day and it just didn't seem to do anything. But just now, just before you and I started talking, I thought I'd try dragging voice memos. That's what it was. I dragged voice memos. Just drag the control for that to the menu bar, and that works a treat. Click on that in the menu bar and you are instantly recording a voice memo. Excellent. I like excellent. I like immediate like that. I like it. I mean, is it just that I don't have any patience? I don't think so. I think I really like it because I want to get on with things. Think of something and then do it. Think of something and then write it. And as much as actually I do really enjoy the thousands upon thousands of hours I spend here at my Mac, well, I want that time to be spent writing. So things like an instant start voice memo recording, or pasting the great sentence I wrote on Tuesday and for some unfathomable reason cut, but it's still there, I can paste it back. Getting to open and save folders that I want quickly, instantly even. That's what I like. That's what I like a lot, actually. But speaking of getting on with things like writing, you and I do rather need to be doing that, don't we? So let's say that's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Do please remember the 58 Keys Writing Workshop set of videos that come out every Monday. And there's also a script club on Fridays because I'm just deeply into screenplays. But for now, thank you for watching. Take care of yourself, okay? And I'll see you soon.